What if Bob-omb Battlefield had an army of Goombas as far as the eyes could see? Let's push this game to its limits and find out. Bob-omb Battlefield is a weird map. Sure, we've encountered war scenarios in previous games, but this battlefield feels one-sided and empty. So scarce, in fact, that Mario can literally enter the battlefield and just waltz up to the general of the army without facing much, if any, resistance. It's quite comical because as our devious Red Plumber lays waste to the army's general, King Bob-omb seems surprised that we eluded his 12 Bob-omb guards, only 2 of which were defending the mountain. Shouldn't someone this important be, well, more protected? Well, in today's video, Bowser's placed an executive order for every Goomba within his army to defend King Bob-omb's mountain, and the result is absolute madness. So strap in for a wild ride, because we have a lot of Goombas to smash. And speaking of smashing, why not smash that subscribe button if you like weird videos like this? You'll always see my latest uploads right away, and you can always unsubscribe later if you lose interest. By now, you probably have realized that the 90s were my jam when it came to gaming. So when games resurface from my past, I get incredibly excited. Which is why I'm happy to have partnered with Snoot for this video. Snoot dropped in 1996 just like Super Mario 64. And I remember playing it on one of the old Macs in the back of my school's classrooms. It's a fun puzzle game that tests your ability to think rather than your reflexes. That gaming period seems almost magical to me, as it has a feeling I can never quite relive since it took place within school. So when Snoot reached out, I was kinda taken back. Snoot has been re-released as a free-to-play mobile game for iOS and Android, and the gameplay is identical to the one I played as a kid. Snoot is one of the most popular puzzle games of all time, where you have to save all the trapped Snoods by launching other Snoods at them. Connect 3 or more matching Snoods, and they'll clear from the screen. It's a simple game to learn, but it's a bit difficult to master. There's even leaderboards and a challenging puzzle mode to try out. So if you'd like to give Snoot a whirl, be sure to click my link in the description below to download it for free on the device of your choice. And a big thanks to Snoot for sponsoring this video and supporting me as a creator. But with that, we're off to Bob-omb Battlefield. Okay, so this is probably the first time you've seen Super Mario 64 running with thousands and thousands of enemies before. And that's because this isn't normal. This is not the PC fan port, but the game did have to be tinkered with to allow this volume of baddies onto the playing field. If you've watched informative videos on Super Mario 64 before, or perhaps have just witnessed some slapped together ROM hacks like this hot garbage, then you may be familiar with the concept of Super Mario 64's object memory. If you get too many objects on screen, the game starts to corrupt, resulting in stuff disappearing or the game just straight up freezing. This is a limitation caused by how many objects the game can store. But if that situation was accounted for, and the game was altered in a way where it wouldn't crash, then we could push this to the limits, and Mario is in for one heck of a ride. So Mario jumps into Bob-omb Battlefield, only to be overtaken by Goombas immediately. As soon as we close the dialogue box, Mario gets hit in the back, and our very strange adventure begins. One of the things you quickly realize in a situation like this is that whenever you jump, you're always going to have a Goomba under you. If you wanted to, honestly, you could do a challenge where you never touch the ground. But this weird jumping hiccup causes some issues. You can easily overshoot to where you want to go, or if you get knocked backwards, you could get carried off by Goomba deaths to the edge of the map. I found that grabbing the cork box offered me some salvation though. The fact that I could destroy tons of Goombas with a single throw was amazing. It allowed me to clear paths to where I need to go too. With this many Goombas taking over the map, you can't really move Mario the way you want to. Almost all his moves are off limits, or at least are not easy to access because you get attacked before pulling them off. Mario's momentum and controlling that momentum was problematic, so we have to take the slow way up the mountain. So we raced by chain chomp and across the wooden bridge. This tilting wooden bridge is like the only anti-Goomba space in the level, mind you, besides the occasional cork box or wooden post. As we make our ways around the map, I did notice that Bob-ombs were randomly exploding and I could hear tons of Goombas dying in the process. I'm not sure why this happened, but it did. By far, the most frustrating part of this run is not being able to touch the ground after you jump. It was driving me bonkers and totally messing with my mind and how I would normally play the game. Unless you want to move straight with a long jump, it feels like moving in this Goomba explosion is super slow due to the momentum loss when doing a normal jump off of Goombas. Diving works to clear some out, but sliding kicks are definitely the way to go to clear your path. As I began to make my way up the mountain, I realized that the density of Goombas were increasing, which seemed natural, given that I was approaching the mountain they were trying to defend. When I made my way around the second cannon in the upper fence area, I was surprised at just how many there were. But that's when I noticed Goombas dropping from above. there were a few thousand soldiers between me and King Bob-omb. But because Goombas tend to wander as enemies, they were actually slowly descending the mountain by falling off the sides. And honestly, that was kinda helpful, because as the density of Goombas down below increased, that means the Goombas were decreasing in numbers up top. So I pressed on, scaling the mountain, until I ran into some hiccups. I was getting careless, so as I made my way past the water balloon cannon, I was long jumping like a crazy person, and the Goomba momentum threw me off the mountain. And honestly, it was a bit frustrating. Anyways, so this time I decided to just cheat and skip the mountain by utilizing the warp inside of it. But as the screen faded to white, it, never unfaded? I was trapped in a white void, and I could hear the faint cries of babies in the background. So, needless to say, I learned my lesson. This time up the mountain, I decided to chase a cork box across the battlefield and force my way up the green slope to skip going through the main gates. It was actually a pain in the butt, since there were about 30 Goombas on the hill disrupting my moves. I made it up after a while and got around to the water cannon area, only to long jump into a fallen Goomba and fall off the mountain. Fantastic. Rinse and repeat, and I finally made it to the top near King Bob-omb. Luckily, a lot of Goombas had fallen off the mountain, and there were only about 100 up on the platform. But it made the fight interesting for sure. So the Goombas affect the boss fight in 3 different ways. For one, jumping behind King Bob-omb to pick him up becomes a lot more bothersome, because you normally can't land your jump. You're too busy ending Goomba lives with the solid flex of your stern calf muscles. However, Goombas can also just run through King Bob-omb. So if you go to pick him up and your punch connects with a Goomba, it will ignore your grab and move you backwards while defeating the Goomba. And that's annoying. But finally, Goombas can actually assist King Bob-omb by elongating his throws. If you're tossed into a crowd of Goombas, they can sacrifice themselves as you crowd surf off the mountain into a world of pain and future back problems. The enemy spam makes this fight take a lot longer because of this. It isn't really a huge issue though, because even if you get hit while holding the king, he'll still take damage. And beyond that, any damage you take can be cleared up decently since every Goomba spawns a coin upon defeat. With some patience and a few slide kicks to clear the playing field, we can break King Bob-omb even with his army of thousands of soldiers, thus defeating him and Bowser's army in one fell swoop. Oh yeah, racing Koopa the Quick here is awful. Do not recommend. But shell surfing through a mob of thousands of Goombas is one of the most satisfying feelings in the world. Now all I need is some cranberry juice and some Fleetwood Mac. Also, one last thing, if you guys like to see me attempt all of Super Mario 64 with thousands and thousands of Goombas loaded onto each and every map, including the boss fights and pretty much every single situation, let me know in the comments below. I'm not against doing it, it will be a very interesting challenge video, but if that's something you would like, just let me know in the comments below and I'll make it happen. Anyways, thank you all for watching, subscribe if you aren't subscribed yet, and I'll see you all soon. Cheers!